Yeah.
Great. Let's get it. All right. So we're going to talk about what is a brand, first off, establishing your brand and what it takes to establish that brand, protecting your brand, and professional networking. First, we're going to start out with a game. So I'll need everyone to type their answer in the chat of what is the brand that you see on the screen. If you're paying attention, you already have this one. Chat. There it is. Yes, 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 yes. All right. How about this one? Look at you. You guys are even spelling it right. Look at you. That's right. John Deere. The next one. Let's see who spells this one right, though. Nobody's got this one?
It's a bit of a lag.
Yes, there you go. There you go. Everyone's spelling that right too, just about. Okay. How about this one though? Yeah, it's getting a little tougher. Ooh, close, Amy. Close, Angela. Yes, Monique. Ooh. Ashley hit the shrug. She don't know. Yes, yes. United Airlines. Yes, yes. Let's look at the next one. See who's got this one. Yeah, you better have that one. How about this one? Yep. And how about this one? Yeah. And the last one. Yes, Amy. Who day? Who day? Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. So thank you all for doing that. Now, Jennifer. Oh wait, you just came on. Look. Ashley Johnson, can you come off mute for me? Now, how did you know? Hey, how are you? It's good to connect with you remotely.
Always a pleasure.
Now, how did you know some of these answers? How did you know this one?
Mostly just seeing them around, using some of the products or some of the brands, but mostly just seeing them.
Yeah, just seeing them around, right? Thanks for that, Ashley.
No worries.
Leslie Schultz. See, you guys aren't used to a Zoom like this. You're not used to getting called on Zoom. I know it.
Yeah, I am.
All right. So how did you know McDonald's?
Well, who can not know the arches?
The golden arches, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So all of these ways that we've recognized, and thanks for that answer. And all these ways that we can recognize these brands, it comes from us interacting with them, seeing them around, things like that. So your brand is no different. Every interaction that you have is building your brand. Whenever someone sees your name at the bottom of an email, wouldn't you love to know what they thought about you? Wouldn't you love to know? Well, you can actually influence that. And here's some ways that we can do that. First, we got to look at what is a brand. It's a particular product or a characteristic that serves a identity, I'm sorry, serves to identify a particular product. It's a trade name or a trademark. It's also an iron that's heated and used for branding animals. Or it's a mark of disgrace, infamy, a stigma. Your brand can work to identify you and your characteristics, or it can be a mark of disgrace or infamy. And we have to be careful the way that we manage ourselves when we're presenting our brand to people. So let's talk about, how do you establish that brand? What do you need to do to make sure that you have lasting impact and that it's a positive one? Here are some tips. Number one, help others. Look for ways that you can help them. You guys still see my screen, or you see the presentation?
The presentation.
Ah,
Like, I can
excellent.
see all of your notes.
You see all my notes? Good.
Yeah.
All right. Help others. Invite a coworker that you don't normally engage with to coffee, lunch, a walk. Help them find out what they're working on. Look for ways to insert your expertise.
It's not in presenter mode.
Oh.
There you
There
go.
we go. Jeez, oh, jeez. Second, ask intelligent questions. Look for ways to insert your domain expertise. Domain expertise is a way that you can shine and show off your particular skills. You ask someone what they're working on and try to connect with them and try to bring that to your skill set. And by asking those intelligent questions, you can look for ways to display that domain expertise. For example, there was a story about a writer who was going to interview a protein supplement company. So it was a vitamin company, but focusing on protein supplements. The writer does some research, and one of the very first questions he asks, so how much of your income are you looking to glean from GNC? And the person that was being interviewed was kind of taken back by that and said, well, what do you know about that? Well, I've done my research and I like to actually work out as well. What I've found is that lots of people are shopping online now, so they might be getting away from GNC. So have you thought about maybe going this route? Again, looking for ways to insert themselves to be that domain expertise. It also establishes instant credibility. The third is be charismatic. So there are 10 things that you can do to be more charismatic. And I'm going to share those with you now. Let me go back to my notes. And here they are. You should do these things really well. Number one, be on time. It doesn't take any talent, but it's a way that you can be charismatic, that you can display that you have the ability to be on time. Why is being on time so important? Because time is money. Number 2, work ethic. Work hard. Number 3, effort. It takes 0 talent to put forth all of your effort. Number 4, body language. Number 5, it's energy. Number 6 is attitude. Choosing your attitude. Number 8 is being coachable. Let me just say something about being coachable here. All the talent in the world is great. However, how are you going to grow? Are you going to rely on yourself to get yourself better? Because how are you going to be the top performer if you're working on yourself? So being coachable is not a sign of you're not good. Being coachable is a sign that you're able to take direction, which is very important, no matter what, unless you're the CEO. We're not CEOs yet. But also, CEOs have to answer to others as well, to their shareholders. Sometimes.
It came back to presenter mode, by the way.
So being coachable, oh, thank you. So being coachable is a good way to show charisma and potential talent. Number 9, doing extra. And number 10, being prepared. Back to the presentation. The last tip I have for establishing your own brand is recognize who's in control of your development. And that is you. You are the sole captain of your ship. And if you're waiting for the next person to pick you up and take you to your next destination, that person might not come. You are the one that's in charge of your development. You are the one that's in control. And when people see that, that's a part of your brand as well. So what do you do once you have your brand established? You protect it. Personal brand is what people say about you when you leave the room. So what do they say about you when you leave the room? You got to influence that. So how do you protect it? Number 1, be noticed for the right things. Be noticed as the person that asks really good questions. Be noticed for the person that's always on time or takes really good notes or always has a follow-up, always has a solution and doesn't just pose problems and obstacles. Be noticed for that. That helps protect your brand. Also, write a thank you note. I know it seems silly, and hardly anybody writes notes anymore, but it's a lost art. Sending somebody a thank you note doesn't have to be handwritten, goes a long way though. But even if it's a quick thank you text, even if it's a, hey, I really appreciate that. But make sure that it's not generic. So what you should do is make it specific, make it meaningful. So I don't want anything, hey, Sean, thanks for your presentation. That's not really doing anything for your brand. That's forgettable. But if you send a note to say, hey, Patrice, thank you for the opportunity to talk to some of the students. I really, really loved interacting with them, and I hope they got a lot out of it. That's something that's going to last a lot longer than thanks for the opportunity, Patrice, or thanks for having me. Make sure that it's specific. So we've talked about branding and establishing your brand, and I just want to pause here and answer any questions that anybody might have. I think this is where we get the most out of these sessions, is where we get questions. So what questions are out there around your brand, establishing it and protecting it?
So Sean, when you were talking about coachability, do you have any tips for, maybe like when you're getting some like feedback that's not the most positive, do you have a tip for maybe not taking things so like personally, I guess, or like keeping emotion out of it?
Yes, thank you so much for that question, Autumn. I would think that one of the most important things that you can do to kind of minimize the reacting in the moment is write it down. If someone's giving you some feedback, hopefully it's constructive, and that's another thing too. We really need constructive. I mean, writing it down and thinking about it is going to be a lot easier than reacting in the moment to protect your brand. So if you're getting some tough feedback around, you know what, you're just not trying hard enough, and you believe that you are, write it down, look down, and because that's twofold. Write it down so they know that you're taking it seriously. But if you're like me, I can't hide anything on this. So if somebody says something to me, I'm automatically, it's all over my face. So one that I've learned is, Sean, put your head down and write something. So they can't see your face. And that also gives you, also if it's bad, this is kind of funny, but if it's bad, write super slow. Because if you're writing super slow, it'll give you time to process it. Don't say a word. It'll give you time to wipe that face off and fix your face so they can continue the coaching session.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean.
You're very welcome. I hope it helps. Was there one in the chat, maybe? I saw something in the chat. Yeah.
I had a question as well.
Sure, please ask it, and then I'll read these. Go ahead.
Okay. I guess my question would be, in establishing a brand, I mean, I know a lot of us, we have our personal brands, and then is there a difference between who you present as a person and your business brand? It's like, are you your business, or can people differentiate, or is it one and the same, or does it have to be?
It is one and the same. But also, it really depends on your company's culture, depending on where you work. I mean, trust me, I understand that there are times that we feel that we need to cover or we need to code switch. And that happens. Absolutely, it does. But your brand doesn't change. Your ability to move between those worlds is your brand. That is you. And it really bothers me when people say, oh, Sean, you always use your business voice. But that's not what I call it. Your business voice. That's effective communication. If I'm speaking with someone and I need to make sure that I get my point across, I'm going to put it in the best medium so that I can get my result. Now, if that's on me for getting what I want, then that's fine. But your brand is your personal brand and your professional brand are one and the same. And sometimes we make the mistake of thinking that, well, I have to be this way, or I need to post it this way. Just be you. And your brand is going to be authentic and established. I hope that helps.
I have a question, Sean.
Please.
So this is about like when you're branding yourself in an interview, and sometimes they ask you interview questions like they want you to sell yourself. How do you do that without being like over cocky or overconfident, but still explaining yourself if that's your personality? If that makes sense.
Yes. And that's a great question, Brett, because I navigate that a lot. Like I don't want to come off as, oh, Sean thinks he's everything, or I've done a lot of stuff. I've gotten a lot accomplished. And sometimes people can't distinguish confidence from cockiness. But I would say that the way that you sell yourself in some of those situations is when you can speak to data points. You can't brag if you're talking to data points. If I say I was asked to recruit 12 people and I actually produced 25, that's impressive. That's not cocky, that's a fact. So the more that you can stick to data points is the way that you can shy away from, oh, he's cocky or he's just throwing out stuff, or because it could have went a different way. I could have said, I can do the work of 2 people. They asked me for 12 and I gave them 25. Nope. You can switch that around and say, the objective was 12, I produced 25 due to my hard work and this and that. It doesn't need to be braggadocious.
Gotcha. Thanks for that.
I have a question.
Please ask.
Hi, my name is Sierra. How do you protect your brand when during like controversial experiences and stuff? If that makes sense.
What type of controversy are we talking about here?
Like if you're at work or if you own a company, and whether it be let's just say race or gender, how do I like not act out, protect my brand, but also put my voice out there and protect me as a woman and me as a Black woman too?
For sure, for sure. That's a really good question. But when it comes to things like that, there are laws that protect us around that. So I don't think, I would say know the law. I would say know about EEOC, know about all of those things so that you can address them like that. Instead of, I don't know how you deal with it currently, but I know that when issues come up around race or gender, I'm the very first one to say something.
Like I have an example, like Twitter or like social media. I feel like I can't say everything I want to say on social media or like tag the company that is doing racist stuff or something because it'll look bad on me. Does that
Sure,
make sense?
too. Yes, absolutely. And you're getting into the territory that I really want to talk about, and that is social media and protecting your brand on social media. You can control social media. I don't. This is where I learned the term Finsta a while back. If you have to get it off your chest and you have to use social media to do it, get a moniker, create a different Twitter account or something that's not linked to people that you follow. I'm very active on Twitter. Not a soul is my legal. I get to interact the way I want to. I can say whatever I want to say, and it never comes back to Sean Walker. It's always, but I'm out there. I got it off my chest. I expressed my opinion. I've, added these companies, or I've called them out, or sent a, hashtag them or whatever. But that's the way that you can do that, is make your page private, get a different one if you absolutely need to address it on social media. I hope that's helpful.
Yes, thank you.
Very welcome. Any other questions out there before I read these? Okay. What do you do when your professional brand was damaged due to you protecting your brand, i.e. protecting yourself against harsh treatment or false accusations? So this is a really good question. The fact that harsh treatment or false accusations. So if your professional brand has been damaged due to you protecting harsh treatment or false accusations. Do you have an example of this, Brensha?
I do. So I got feedback.
Hi.
Sorry. For some reason, I don't have Zoom on, I don't have a chat on my computer. I have to use my phone. But I do. So on my in a previous position, I dealt with a lot of false accusations. And in me proving that these false accusations were not correct, I actually had more damage done. I was accused of falsifying timesheets. I would present the timesheets and then it would be more damage done instead of
Okay.
like, oh yeah, you didn't falsify this timesheet or anything like that. So I was just wondering, like, what do you do in that situation?
Thank you for filling in the lines there a little bit. So that is a result of your brand going off, because if your brand was where it needed to be, they would have never accused you of falsifying timesheets, right? So the fact that you had to come back and defend that was a result of not having that brand established already. So I don't know how long you were at the job or whatever, but something in your brand wasn't established the right way. Maybe when you came in, there were preconceived notions that were not disproven that made them say, oh, well, yeah, she be the one to steal time. But it also is how you address it. If you say, nobody's stealing time, like, why don't you look it up? Or if it's, I'll get the timesheets. Can you help me understand where you thought I was stealing time? Now, even if you come back and say, can you help me understand how you came to this conclusion? Because when I look at this timesheet or these timesheets, they're not falsified. That might cause them to go, oh, maybe we did jump to conclusions. But I know, like, I don't ever want to fall into ABM territory, angry black man territory, because I've had similar things happen to me, like, oh, Sean, you told them they could do it. But my brand was strong enough that when I came back to them and said, well, when you look at the things that I've done for the company and my dedication to this job, what makes you think that I would do something like that? Sometimes asking that question back to them will make them think, oh, maybe I have jumped to a conclusion. Rachel hasn't done anything to make us think that she would falsify a timesheet. Maybe I need to start looking at me. That's what it was. They needed to look at them, or your brand wasn't established already. You're welcome. I saw it. All right. All right. Here's another question. I think an additional way of establishing your brand that goes a long way with asking intelligent questions is adding value. Oh, yeah. Ooh, this is a good one. Adding value to conversations. So if someone else has asked the question, or you're in a general conversation, add value that shows your expertise. A very, very, very good point. Make sure that if you're contributing to a conversation, it is what we talked about in a positive way. You're bringing solutions to the table and not just a bunch of problems. So a really good point there. All right. Are there any other questions out there that I can help answer or try to answer? Okay, with that.
Sean.
Yes.
Oh, this doesn't apply to me, but I guess my question is because I know a lot of my students are either planning to become entrepreneurs or in the process of it already. And on the same topic of social media and them basically hurting or harming themselves, right? So understanding that you have your own business social media, but then your personal, and you doing something on your personal that causes damage to your actual business brand. What are some techniques or approaches that students, or I'm sorry, people or business owners could take to respond to damage control or even have damage control in those situations?
Yeah, so obviously the very first thing is apologizing and owning up to what was out there. I don't think you need to necessarily explain your logic or anything around that, but just the accountability and the recognition of, I recognize that my actions have caused this. And then follow that up with a reassurance of, that, I mean, it's textbook of what's going on. Like, you see all of these companies last year, the first thing you do when you step in dog poop is you step backwards. And they have definitely stepped backwards a couple of times. The big companies too, like, oh, wow, we didn't understand that. Or we didn't realize the impact. Playing ignorant will work once. So I would say, you can say, I'm very sorry, and then follow that up with a reaffirmation of what you meant, but you don't owe anybody an explanation as to why, but apologize, own up to it, and reaffirm. That way, because it needs to be addressed. If not, it's just going to spin out of control, and you'll lose both of your business. You'll lose your business if the ship's not right. I hope that helps, Greg.
Oh yeah, thanks.
Anything else out there? Okay. I wanted to have just a brief discussion around networking, which we've kind of done already, but I wanted to talk to you guys about networking and how you network. Things like this are great. I will I will always remember those folks that asked a question today. I will look at those folks as possible members of my network going forward. These are great opportunities. I would encourage you, anytime you have a chance to sit in on a lunch and learn, or a presentation, or just an info session, do it. Do it, not because you're interested. Do it because there's a networking opportunity. I did this one time with with Women's Edge. Women's Edge is an associate resource group within the Kroger Corporation that's obviously for women. Now, they had a lunch and learn around, I forget what it was. This was years ago. It was around something, I think it was around like email etiquette or something like that. Like, I've been writing emails for a decade. I don't need to learn email etiquette, but I went anyways. And I ended up linking up with another guy in that presentation. I wasn't expecting to meet anybody there or, doing that. I was just, I could use it. And I ended up meeting another guy in there, another Black guy that we still talk to this day. So get into those information sessions, not because, of course, if you're interested, you should attend, but not for the sole reason of being interested in the topic, but also a networking opportunity. I would say also other ways to network are obviously through social media, but not really, if you're professionally networking, like LinkedIn, and that has to go with, you have to be active on LinkedIn though. Like, you can't treat LinkedIn like TikTok. Like, I'm a TikTok watcher. I don't make content. I'm not a creator, but I love laughing, so I watch TikTok. You can't do the same thing on LinkedIn. You have to be active. You have to post stuff. You have to repost stuff. You have to like stuff. You have to congratulate people. That's how you build your network on LinkedIn. If you're looking to build it outside on places like Twitter, Facebook, I don't think people use the gram for networking for our intents and purposes. But if you're doing Twitter and Facebook, those type of things, you, again, have to be active, especially if you're wanting to contribute to your brand and to network and get out there, you have to post. Sierra Blair, Sierra's a really good question. I never know what's appropriate to post on LinkedIn. So here's my rule. If you saw it on Facebook, or you could have seen it on Facebook, don't put it on LinkedIn. Like, I get so upset when I'm looking at LinkedIn and I see stupid stuff about like the election and all this. Like, that's not what LinkedIn is for. LinkedIn is a professional networking site. So I don't want to hear your opinion on the election. I don't care. Also, while we're here on LinkedIn, everybody's not your connection. all of my connections on LinkedIn, I know them. I've had an interaction with them. There are people out there that are, again, treating LinkedIn like Instagram and just out there like trying to get connections and stuff like that. It stops counting to 500. What are you doing it for? Like everybody's got 500. So it doesn't even count them anymore. It'll show 500 plus. That's it. So make sure that your connections are actual true connections and endorse folks. Did you guys know that you can endorse on LinkedIn? You need to be endorsing people because that's how people endorse you back. Endorse them for multiple things that are true. And then that'll come back to you. Also,
I have a question. Okay.
please. Ask
Okay. So I look at LinkedIn a lot. I like other people's stuff. Like I said, I don't really know what to post exactly, so I just like other people's. I reshare. But back to what you were saying about my connections. My connections are like people in my major, whether I know them or not. It's the companies I want to work for or would want to work for. I don't know if it would mess up the algorithm or something if I started following people that I know that are not in my major. Like all of my stuff is strictly my major.
Yeah. So I wouldn't worry about the algorithm. The algorithms are going to do what they're going to do. They're half wrong anyways. And also, that's why I say make sure that your connections are real and that you actually know these folks, or that you have aspirations of being with these folks, or like the companies. So the companies, it's not going to matter. The people, make sure those are true connections because the companies, that algorithm works whether or not you change it or not. That algorithm around companies is going to do what it's going to do. But around connections, that's where it gets into other people that they're connected to and things like that. So if your connections are strong and you know those actual folks, the algorithm will actually work in your favor. As far as getting outside of things in your major, I think that comes with when you get onto someone else's page or who are they following, and then reach out to them. You could reach out, ask for, a conversation, say, hey, I noticed you're doing this. And maybe that would help. Do you have to change your brand when you leave one company for another company? I would say, Monique, how did you need to rebrand yourself?
I mean, I don't think I did. I knew many of the people that I went into the other business with, but I left the educational realm and and went to work for the YMCA, but I'm contracted through the educational realm. I know it's kind of confusing. So just trying to learn their dynamics and their techniques, I feel like I have to, because they don't know me. So I feel like I'm going into something based off their brand. I am a product of their brand, I guess, who's trying to come in and fit my brand into their brand. So what I need to change some parts of my brand to fit the overall brand, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. It doesn't. No, you don't. No, you don't. That is when we have to be careful when we talk about brands and assimilation. It's not about assimilating into that culture and losing your brand, because that's how you lose your identity. So I would say your brand needs to be consistent, but if there are things that are in your brand that do not fit, like absolutely do not fit, like if you are a strong believer that people shouldn't have guns and you start working for the NRA, obviously you got to leave some of that behind. But if there's things that just don't mesh, you have to get rid of it. I wouldn't say that you have to change it, just get rid of it. And look for ways that your brand can shine. I hope that's helpful.
That was very helpful.
Good. Is there anything else out there from the group? Well, I want to thank everyone for your time, respect, and attention today. You didn't even have to attend that. You didn't have to do that. But just know I appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, wait, there's another. Going from one company to another is an opportunity to rebrand. Yeah, can go from being viewed as tied to tied plus software. Yeah, oftentimes coworkers can't. Yes, yes. For those that can't see the chat, yeah, going from one company to another is an opportunity to rebrand. Can you go from being viewed? You can go from being viewed as tied to tied plus software. Oftentimes, coworkers can't see the new version. All right. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Please stay warm, stay safe and healthy. And I look forward to interacting with you guys in the future. At this point, I'll stop sharing my screen and I will turn it back over to Patrice.
Thanks, Sean. I think you had one more question coming in right at the end from Jennifer.
Oh, where is it?
She was speaking.
Sorry, I didn't know if my mic was working.
Oh, okay. So sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
And I had sent it earlier in the chat. So sorry for bringing it at the end, but it was more so about like how to protect your brand when your mental health is affecting your work ethic and ability to do your job well. And how like when you have to meet like the company standards and stuff, and especially when it's like a situation where it's taking time to recover from personal issues or mental health and you're trying to show that you're not making excuses.
Yeah, wow. What a timely question, especially in these times. The pandemic's got me questioning my mental health sometimes. So yes, thank you. Thank you for bringing this up. So protecting your brand when you are recovering from some mental health struggles is really about understanding what it is. Understanding, is it anxiety? Is it a mood disorder? Like what's really happening? Because only then can you stop it from affecting your work. If you're saying like, oh, I'm just a little foggy, I'm having a bad day, I'm having a tough day. How many bad days in a row are you gonna let it go before you start doing something about it? Because when we stop doing, when we're not doing something about this, when it starts to really start kicking in. And then you do have to make excuses because you haven't done anything about it. So I would say the way that you kind of navigate this, and I am not a mental health expert. Let me just put that disclaimer right there. Patrice, go ahead and cue the disclaimer. I'm not a mental health expert. There it is. But I will say, you have to know what you're dealing with. So the first step would be making sure you know what's affecting you so that you can manage it appropriately. I hope that helps.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I see a hand up from Ashley, and I think that'll have to be the last question. Ashley, do you have your hand up?
I did. I just wanted to know, so in speaking of branding and rebranding, sorry, this just came up, but as far as rebranding, some of us have been out of college, been out of high school, been out of whatever realm for a very long time. And, some people might remember us from who we were at that point in time in life. But if you're not necessarily rebranding, but it's like if this is where you are right now and you like your brand, but people still are kind of drawn towards the last brand that was there 15, 20 years ago, how do you recover from that, or you just let those things go?
Great question, Ashley. I would say that this actually reminds me of a quote that I heard recently from Drake, of all people. And Drake was talking about people like, man, we need that so far gone Drake. We need that old Drake, or like Kanye, like we need the old Kanye. If you want the old Ashley, go back and read your yearbook. Go look at the quote or something that I wrote in your yearbook. That's not me anymore. I'm sorry. That was 10, 15, 20 years ago. I've had all of these things, these life events have happened. I've grown so much. I'm just not that person anymore. Now they're going to keep trying to pull you back into it, but you got to stay on brand. That's not you anymore. That is not you. I hope that
Noted.
helps.
Hashtag read your yearbook. Yes, yes. Go back to that old Facebook page.
Yeah, go back to the old one. Yeah, go dig up a MySpace URL or something. That's not me. Like, that's not me anymore. And really, sometimes it's about them wanting to reminisce more than it is about them trying to brand.
That was good. Thank you, Sean. I'm gonna start telling people, read your yearbook.
Yeah, go back and read your yearbook. That's not me.
All right, well, this will conclude our branding yourself session. I just want to thank you all so much for attending. This was absolutely amazing. This is the second time I've heard Sean present this, and this was probably my favorite. The questions were fantastic, and you gave some really great advice. So again, just thank you guys for spending time with us, and thank you, Sean, for taking time out of your busy day to spend with us and share this great advice as well. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend, and we hope to see you